I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, buckle your seatbelt because we are heading back to the future. Okay, not that back to the future. We're heading to a different future, a truly unique future that has been conceptualized by author Keith-Radmall. It is called Journey Through Folding Space. It is the diary of a time traveler who stops in a drastic situation. It is a riveting read. It is highly recommended, and we are delighted to have Keith-Radmall join us here today on Spotlight. Keith, thank you so much for being my guest.
You're welcome, sir.
Let's start out by giving the folks the headline. What is your book all about?
Well, as you say, it's I started it as a concept of the diary of a time traveler, talking about the different adventures he had during his journeys throughout the universe, and then I was trying to think of ending it on a big story, putting it all together of where it is found and what it was really about. And that's when I came upon the pandemic. I started the book in 2014.
Hmm.
And then when I was doing a GCSE course,
Mm-hmm.
I did the science course, and and that's when, while I was doing it, that's when the virus hit the United Kingdom, and because my book was in motion, it just sort of fit that would be a great topic to go with it, and actually it fit very well. I was really pleased with the outcome of putting the two sections together.
Absolutely. It's kind of serendipitous that you were writing this book back in 2014, which was, a relatively long time ago. And then 6 years later, bam, we're hit by the pandemic, but it actually helps you with your work.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I like the all the journey through folding space. I haven't been going into books and writing about what happened here or what happened there. It's 100% my own work, and the final part, because it was the motion. Like I tried to only to keep it to my own sense of what was going on, and only put in the number facts,
Absolutely.
and the places where it was hitting in, from other people's point of view. I try to keep it as best I can from my analyzing of the situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell the folks at home what you mean by folding space.
Well, I I heard a lot of through the grapevine that a lot of science didn't believe in folding space, and then when I when I was writing the book, I'm traveling through time, and I'm finding out all these different elements in space that, because they're not known, that people were thinking that they're not real. Then I'm seeing this planet, like, as you probably know yourself, in America, ever since 2020, this this planet just hasn't been the same.
Hmm.
The thought process of people, the value of life, it's really been changed. So like, and I find people are really really thinking different to from what was before. And the realization of what can be,
Hmm.
like who would have thought there would have been a pandemic that within 4 months could wipe out the whole world? What are we now? 8 billion people. Who thought a pandemic could put everybody on the brink of extinction like it did?
Right. Yeah, they definitely threw us a curveball there in 2020, and we're still living with the effects of that unexpected pitch. In a way, don't you think all of us are time travelers? We travel through time every day, right?
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I know what you're saying there. Like I was trying to explain in portions of my book. When I write where different time elements would come in. I list them like we're out of time. Just that saying. That means we've gone through time. And then there's you ask what time it is. That means time's moving, but you're not. Because you're not thinking of it. I try during the time travel part of the book. I I went in really thorough. I wanted to explain everything I could about time travel, and putting it, trying to bring it around into a thought process. That was one of my worries about when I was writing the book. Will people understand it? And I've been lucky. I've gave a few copies to some people, and what people have said about it, like I gave it to the tutor that taught me the science. She read the manuscript, and her first words were, "Wow, fantastic!" And that's what inspired me to put it out as a book.
Absolutely. Is this the first book you've written?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah.
And what started you thinking back in 2014 about this whole concept? Was there something in your life that was going on, or what inspired you?
Well, not really. I just it's something I thought when I was younger. Like I know I didn't get much of an education. I left school when I was 14 years old. And and I thought, how can someone like me make any money? Besides manual labor. And I thought, oh well, I can maybe write a book. Maybe there's something in there for me.
Hmm.
And and when I started thinking, like the thought process of the time traveler, it was very hard to understand how I could make a book out of it, and and, and try to avoid how other people think. I wanted it to be 100% what I was doing, what I'm going through. I didn't want to, infringe on anybody else's copyright. So that's what I did. You know, it, and a strange thing when I was writing the book, it may sound far out, but I was finding myself as if I was waiting for my memory to catch up with me.
Hmm.
But it is like when I got the book, when it was finally finished and I got it published, it was all I asked for. It was everything I'd been thinking. I was so pleased when I got the finished article.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's kind of like that, I think, when you're writing, is that you become immersed in this world that you're creating, that you actually become part of it, and that when you're writing it, you're outside of this space that you're in right now, but you're there inside the book. Did you get that same kind of feeling?
Definitely, you do. Like when it came to the pandemic, how harsh it was and how heartbreaking it was for so many people. It was so hard to, you, I did try, always thinking of other people when I was putting it into writing. I didn't want to offend anybody. All I was, all I tried to do is explain the situation and like how it just kept on going from one level to another. I didn't want to think that I was just setting somebody up to, just have a laugh on them. I was always careful to avoid that situation.
Well, you've done a magnificent job on this book. It really transported me to a different time, a different place, a different world. Are you working on anything else right now?
So you have read it then?
Yes.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, actually, I have. I've almost got another book finished, and I I'll give it to my science tutor to proofread it for me, and I hope she comes back and says it's more thought provoking and chilling as the journey through folding space was, because I
Wonderful.
put a lot of work into that as well.
I'm sure. Do you have a name for that one yet?
Yeah, I do. It's called The Vision of Folded Space.
Huh. So is this sort of a sequel to the first one?
Well, it is actually. A, a pleasing fact about writing this book was when I started writing it, I was thinking, is there much more I can add to what I've already added? So I don't want to start giving things away about the book itself, but I was finding I've been able to transgress in the COVID-19 situation, and I you know devise into the future of what dangers lay ahead and how we can try to keep ourselves together, and just not go there, because we've gone to this situation now, this coronavirus situation. You know, we went in there. We got science. We can do this. We can do that. But all this virus has showed us is you can't do anything right. Every step humanity has took since this virus started in December of 2019, nobody has shown a way forward for us. It's always been an anxious moment, and
True.
we've got over that. But then the virus has always had another shocker in waiting for us.
Yeah. It's very, very true. It's very, very scary concept. We don't know what the next plague or pandemic will be. Certainly, this one was terrible. The next one could be worse. Hopefully, our leaders are making plans to keep us safe, because we certainly seemed like we were caught flat-footed when this one happened.
Oh, really? Yeah, like, because going back in time to germs, bacteria, viruses of the past, there was always a lot of talk about them, all the terrible things said about them, but there was no dialogue. The only dialogue I've ever saw has been on YouTube.
Mm.
And they talk about all these vaccines, and all these vaccines have always come after the big epidemics or the big pandemics. That all these cures they found, it's always been after the fact.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
seeing now what's happening in China, we have got to be so careful now. These scientists of ours searching for a proper vaccine. I hope they can find it,
Me
because
too.
it looks terrible.
Me too. It's a horrible situation in China for sure right now. Hopefully, things get better there, and hopefully that mess doesn't spread around the world like it did the first time. The name of the book is called Journey Through Folding Space. It is written by Keith-Radmall. It is a diary of a time traveler who stops in on a drastic situation. It's an amazing book. It's very original. It's very well thought out. It is very literate. I highly recommend this book. If you're a fan of sci-fi, even if you're not, pick up Keith's book. It is well worth the read. Keith-Radmall, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Crawford. It's been really interesting talking to you.
Same here. The pleasure is all mine. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.